being 5, 8, 12, 13, 14, 20, 21, and 22. And then if there is time, they will probably go to Committee of the Whole on a number of other bills. And again, if there's time after that, before the House adjourns at 1 o'clock, they hope to resume debate on the budget. Next Monday, of course, when it comes to the evening, the House will probably be dealing further with the estimates of various departments. O Lord, we give thanks for the bounty of our province, our land, our resources, and our people. We pledge ourselves to act as good stewards on behalf of all Albertans. Amen.
Introduction of visitors. Presenting petitions. Reading and receiving petitions. Presenting reports by standing and special committees. Notices of motions. Introduction of bills. Tabling returns and reports. Introduction of special guests.
Mr. Speaker, it's a pleasure to introduce to you and through you to the members of the Legislative Assembly a group of grade 6 students from the Willow Park School in Leduc. There's 57 of them. They're accompanied by their teachers, Norma Messner and Rod Howard. They're in your members gallery. I wish they would rise and receive the warm welcome from the Assembly.
Edmonton Avonmore.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is my pleasure today to introduce to you and through you to the members of this Assembly 41 students from J. Percy Page High School, which is situated in the beautiful constituency of Edmonton Avonmore. They are seated in the public gallery and they are accompanied by teachers Julia Kendall and Marilyn Kieran. I would ask that they now stand and receive the warm welcome of this Assembly.
Edmonton Millwoods.
To you and members of the Assembly this morning, two representatives of the Kurdish community in Edmonton, Mr. Ekrem Kole and Mr. Sadiq Kamo, who I met with this morning to discuss the conditions facing refugees in Iraq. And they're now accompanied today by local community activist Rick Warren. I'd ask the three of them to stand in the gallery and receive our very warm welcome.
Oral question period.
Leader of the Opposition.
Speaker, I'd like to continue with the failure of the Magnesium Canada smelter, Mr. Speaker. The Premier's 1986 campaign promise and his symbol of things to come. Well, Mr. Speaker, it certainly was a symbol of things to come, bungling, incompetence, and corporate welfare, Mr. Speaker.
Right.
But I think the Treasurer and the Minister of Economic Development's attempt to hoodwink Albertans into thinking they won't lose a lot of money must set a new standard in deception, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Treasurer said that the most valuable asset in the company is its technology. Funny enough, Mr. Speaker, the Vice President of the majority partner, who just pulled out of this project, maintains that one of the main reasons for pulling out is that this technology simply hasn't worked out, and it won't work out, Mr. Speaker. To the Provincial Treasurer, will the Treasurer tell us who Albertans should believe on this? The company who ran the project or the Provincial Treasurer?
Yeah, I'd like to know.
Mr. Speaker, with respect to the magnesium plant, we have been in contact over the last couple of days with the people in A&G and with a series of consultants, Mr. Speaker, who have been put in place by the government to look both at the technology and to ensure that the wind down of the plant is secure so that the assets, taxpayers' investment is secure. And in their comments, Mr. Speaker, the two important observations were given to us. Number one, that the technology is an effective technology. It's new to the world, and it provides an opportunity for this technology to generate a low-cost competitor in world markets. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, the plant itself has operated up to 50% of capacity. In fact, some of the coking systems have actually operated above capacity. The point is that the economy, Mr. Speaker, was such that the Alberta Natural Gas could not justify further expenditures. The economy was based on, when the plant was built, on a Canadian dollar worth about 80 cents. It's now worth 86 cents. And an assumption that the price of magnesium would go to $1.80, it's now trading about $1.20 a pound. All of that, Mr. Speaker, drove an economic decision to shut the plant down. But we have said, as this government has maintained, that the plant will be reopened at some point as the economy shifts. The technology is applicable, and in fact the technology will allow this company or its successor company to enter the market with effectiveness because it will become a low-cost producer. The other problem, Mr. Speaker, that A&G gave to us with respect to their decision was that one of the partners, the other partner in the plant, was not able to continue its cash commitment. In fact, did not make any cash commitment through the run-up period of the plant, and therefore A&G was carrying the full amount of the obligation, and in a 50-50 partnership, that was not fair.
I guess I wonder why we're handing out money then if it wasn't fair to begin with, Mr. Speaker. Why wasn't it checked out? But, Mr. Speaker, the Treasurer says that it was effective. If it was effective, you wouldn't have the private sector running off.
Got that right.
And I do agree with them on this, Mr. Speaker. It's new to the world, all right, Mr. Speaker. Nobody else would use it. It's obviously new, Mr. Speaker. But let's look at this technology that was to produce 13,000 tons of magnesium per year in Phase 1, 40,000 tons in Phase 2, and 67,000 tons in Phase 3. That's what the bill of goods were sold. Yet the Provincial Treasurer himself has admitted that the most production ever got booted up to was 3,000 or 4,000 tons per year, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Treasurer again. Can he explain why he is distorting the truth about the value of the technology when he knows full well that it simply hasn't produced and is accordingly almost worthless, Mr. Speaker?
That just is not true, Mr. Speaker. You've heard that already, that the member should just remind himself that he does have a responsibility as opposed to a political agenda, Mr. Speaker. And we're communicating to the people of Alberta about this project, which is that the asset, Mr. Speaker, is a viable asset. The project will return to viability when the economic situation changes so that this plant can be competitive. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, the assets of the entity, about $200 million, are more than 2 times the government's exposure at this point. And thirdly, Mr. Speaker, the government, led by the Premier and the Minister of Economic Development, will find ways to put this back into the private sector, to sell it back in. Already, as the Minister points out yesterday, Mr. Speaker, there have been requests for information, with interests expressed by major players. This is a very valuable company, Mr. Speaker. Magnesium, more and more, is going to be an important part of the car manufacturing technology, and you will see the demand for magnesium grow, the price grow, and along with other industries, Mr. Speaker, this industry has suffered from the high Canadian dollar in U.S. terms where the trade takes place. Now that's the facts, Mr. Speaker. The people of Alberta will be assured to know that their interests are protected by a first claim against the asset, and the impact on the budget this year will not be anything near what the leader of the opposition is talking about. The impact will be about $12 million, the cost of maintaining the outstanding liability.
Mr. Speaker, I don't doubt that there's been requests for information from corporations around the world, Mr. Speaker, because they know this government will hand out barrels full of money to them, Mr. Speaker.
You're here.
Free money. Come on in to Alberta and get it, Mr. Speaker. But, Mr. Speaker, I want to move to my last question to the Minister of Economic Development. And just a billion Dick and move over, just got just $100 million Pete, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my question to the Minister is this. The simple fact is now that Albertans now own a magnesium smelter that is at 1/5 production, only partially built, $103 million in debt, in which the developers of the project themselves have decided will never be profitable. If the Minister is so confident in the value of this asset, will he commit to Albertans right here and now in the Legislative Assembly of Alberta that they will not suffer any loss on this fiasco?
Mr. Speaker, I'm more than happy to reinforce to the honourable member, as the provincial treasurer has done today, as I did yesterday, that there are assets of some book value of $200 million, whereby the government has an exposure of $100 million. Therefore, we have assets twice the amount of what our exposure is. I'll leave the honourable member to do the mathematics for himself.
Question, Leader of the Opposition. Let's move it.
Just careful not to answer the question, Mr. Speaker.
You guys understand?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I'm trying to do that if I can, get to it without you here. Mr. Speaker, my second question is to the same minister, Mr. Speaker, and I want to go into another area. Mr. Speaker, as I said yesterday, this government has been totally incompetent and untrustworthy with taxpayers' money, Mr. Speaker. This is a government that put us $11 billion in debt.
Yep.
At the same time, there's no money for education, health care, no money for the poor.
Seniors.
Cutbacks for the seniors, a whole range of it,
That's
Mr.
right.
Speaker.
That's
All of this because of their corporate welfare program, Mr.
right.
Speaker. Now, Mr. Speaker, I'm almost embarrassed to bring up another government bungle which pales in comparison with $103 million because it's only $3 million of taxpayers' money. Mr. Speaker, I'm talking now about General Composites Canada Limited, which was involved in the manufacture of composite pipe for use in the oil, gas, and mining sector, Mr. Speaker. And it appears that this Conservative government has lost at least $3 million in that.
Oh, great.
And I want to ask the Minister this. Will the Minister confirm this, that the government has in fact lost at least $3 million of taxpayers' money on General Composites Canada Limited?
Mr. Speaker, I hope I'm allowed the same latitude the Leader of the Opposition was in putting his question, whereby let me first deal with the issues of education, health, and environment, since he raised them, and had he not raised them, I wouldn't feel the necessity to respond. But since he did raise them, let me indicate to him, as we have consistently suggested in this legislature, all one has to do is examine our budgetary estimates to see the increase in dollar amounts to those three key areas of education, health, and environment. As it relates to environment, I can only refer back to my own estimates, whereby we had a substantial reduction of some 14.8% within our own budgetary estimates, but there is an increase as it relates to our waste minimization policy, just again underscoring our commitment to those sectors of our economy, plus those areas of social well-being, both education and health. Let me come to him too as it relates to General Composites. I should indicate to him, this government has consistently, and I indicated to him yesterday, the fine publication that was put out by my colleague, the Minister of Technology, Research and Telecommunications, of some 1,200 companies within the province of Alberta that we have worked actively with so that we can create meaningful jobs for our young people. Yes, there are failures, but that's not to say that we're going to be timid, as the honourable member opposite is suggesting. We've got an obligation to make sure that this economy is diversified. There are going to be failures. The only time there are not failures is when there is inaction. If the honourable member is suggesting inaction, we don't accept his suggestion.
Supplementary question.
So now, Mr. Speaker, I guess we lost at least $3 million. Now he's got me curious. It's probably a lot more, Mr. Speaker.
Right.
Now, Mr. Speaker, the fact is that the minister was aware as early as the spring of 1989 that General Composites was in deep financial trouble, because we have the briefings from the department, Mr. Speaker. Despite this, Mr. Speaker, the company received a $3 million loan guarantee from the minister's department, Mr. Speaker. Some shrewd business type, Mr. Speaker. To the Minister of Economic Development and Trade. The question is this: why did the minister and his department step in with a $3 million guarantee of worth of Treasury branch loans when he knew at that point that the company was not financially viable?
What's going on over there?
Mr. Speaker, for the background information and for the edification of the leader of the New Democratic Party, let me share with him that we recently went through a reorganization within our own department whereby we could give an increased observance of those companies that were presently involved. And we recognize that we did inject ourselves heavily into the economy over the last number of years. I'm happy to reinforce the commitment that I've given to this House consistently, that because of the improved economic well-being of this province, we are pulling back. But because we did inject ourselves, we've increased within our own department the staff to observe what is taking place with our various investments. And as a follow-up to that, the reason being is we recognize there are going to be some difficulties. And if those difficulties are brought to my attention, we have to make an assessment as to whether we further involve ourselves, if there does prove to be a ray of hope in making sure that the company can be brought up to a proper financial status, or whether we decide not to further involve ourselves. We have decided on many, many cases not to further involve ourselves, and I can go through a long list of companies that we have not indicated any further support would be forthcoming. It's a judgmental decision. I'm more than happy to share with the honourable member the background as it relates to that judgmental decision if he so desires it.
He talks about reorganizing his department. I'm talking about his responsibility because the department had alerted it to him. I have the ministerial briefing book, Mr. Speaker. So it's not his department, it's the minister that made the final decision, Mr. Speaker. I want to ask him again. From the ministerial briefing book, the minister knew the company was in deep trouble in June 1989. Why then would he hand out $3 million of taxpayers' money knowing that, Mr. Speaker? Don't blame his department.
Hear, hear.
He's in trouble. Mr. Speaker, if the honourable member interpreted me as blaming the department, he obviously is not listening. I indicated to him it was a judgmental decision on my behalf as to whether we're going to further involve ourselves in the company or not. For the edification of the honourable member, as he relates to the additional $3 million, those are secured by fixed assets, Mr. Speaker. And I'm happy to, as I indicated, to leave the honourable member the commitment. I'm more than happy to share with him the background as it relates to this company and as to why we did make that decision, and we believe it was the right decision.
Benton Glengarry on behalf of the Liberal Party.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the establishment of this magnesium enterprise in southern Alberta appears now to have been ill-conceived. It would appear that the market was not ready for the establishment of this business, and it would appear that the market won't be ready for some time to see profitability. The Treasurer, the Honourable Treasurer, talks about $1.60 per pound being the profitability mark for magnesium. It's expected to go to the $1.20 mark. Mr. Speaker, this is costing Albertans $1 million per month. My question to the Treasurer is this. The Treasurer must have a plan in place that talks about the time limits that will be extended or taken up on this matter and the maximum amount of money that Albertans will have to pay. How many $1 million per month, and what's the time limit? What's the plan, Mr. Treasurer, that Albertans will see in this matter, and how much money will you put in before you stop and say no more?
Mr. Speaker, what this government has done on the last day or so is in fact make a fairly tough decision. That is a decision to put the plant into neutral, to wind down the plant and to store it until the market or the economy changes. And on the member's comment that the economy is wrong for this plant at this time, we have a concurrence. He must have been listening to what we said, because in fact that's what we've been saying all along, that the economy drives these kinds of economic decisions. The investment decision was taken by very sophisticated people. This was not done casually. This is a commitment of a lot of dollars. And in the case of Alberta Natural Gas, they did a lot of work to ensure that their investment would be protected. They looked at a pilot project, for example. They studied the chemistry and the mechanics of this process. And what we have said already is that this plant is viable with the current technology and in fact has an opportunity to be a world leader when the economics change. In terms of the impact in the budget, Mr. Speaker, I've already detailed that. At the present time, our view is that the total cost in the budget is about $12 million because, of course, the asset value of the project is 2 times the exposure the province has at this point. We do not have to make any payments to the bank to redeem their liability. The terms of the guarantee are that the bank will maintain its position, and we have the option to pay the interest on that debt over the period of 3 to 4 years until we find a seller for the asset.
Mr. Speaker, the question has been deflected. I asked what's the maximum amount of money that Albertans will have to pay up. I'll try the next question to the Minister responsible for Economic Development. Mr. Speaker, there were 3 phases intended in the development of this magnesium enterprise. We never got past the first phase, and the first phase was 50% higher in cost, capital costs, than were anticipated. But yet the provincial government put in about half of the loan guarantees that they committed. My question is this. What was the monitoring that was being done by the minister and his department? Why did he allow taxpayers' monies to be poured into this project when the costs were a problem and the plant was a problem? Why did you keep feeding money in there, Mr. Minister?
First, Mr. Speaker, let me correct the honourable member. There's not 1 penny of taxpayers' money in there. For him to suggest that there is a total misrepresentation of the facts.
Doesn't understand.
We offered a loan guarantee, and the loan guarantees were offered on a phased-in basis. The first advance was to be made for the first phase, as the honourable member suggests, and he is correct as it relates to there being 3 phases. The first phase was the commitment that was given as it relates to the present loan guarantee that is in place. They asked for us to be forward-looking as it related to our indication of backstopping, and we indicated to them that the loan guarantee would be available. I believe it was to some $265 million, and it would be phased in over those 3 phase periods. And the monies that were guaranteed were for the first phase and the first phase only. The other monies are not going to be advanced because they did not go on to completion of the other 2 phases.
I take it that there was no monitoring system in place, Mr. Minister. My last question is to the provincial treasurer. One of the comments that the Auditor General makes in his most recent report, Mr. Treasurer, is dealing with loan guarantees and asking that the provincial government record losses as they occur, as the facts are known, rather than delaying them to some later date, because as he says, it tends to mislead. This is what he says in his report. My question to the Treasurer is this. Will the Treasurer agree to call the Auditor General to look in on this matter, to look in on the loan guarantees, to give recommendations and to follow those recommendations, and to particularly record losses now as they have accrued?
Well, Mr. Speaker, we have no disagreement with what the auditor has said. In fact, we do record the losses in the public accounts as they take place. Unlike the opposition, who has misrepresented the facts, Mr. Speaker, we would like to take this opportunity to say that we do follow a consistent basis, that when the loss takes place, we recognize in the public accounts, these public accounts which I filed on April the 5th, for example, Mr. Speaker, point out that the total loan guarantees and indemnities provided by the government, some $2.7 billion, the loan losses were $33 million. That's actually right there in the public accounts. Now, the leader of the opposition from Norwood totally misrepresented. He said 46% of the loan losses were carried by the government. My calculations show that the public accounts confirm it, that it's about 1% losses, Mr. Speaker. 1% losses in these loan guarantees. Those are the facts. It's in the public accounts, and anyone can look at it and confirm it. We should stop this sort of nonsense with respect to misleading the people of Alberta. And, Mr. Speaker, let me make it clear. We deal with the Auditor General. We put everything up front, Mr. Speaker, and in this case, with respect to the MagCang losses, the losses are only going to be $12 million this year. We have more assets by a 2-to-1 ratio in terms of our loan guarantee, Mr. Speaker, and the province is very well protected in this case. And let's deal with the facts, not with the myth. Both of these myth makers over here would like to misrepresent what's happened here.
Highwood.
My question this morning is to the Minister of Economic Development and Trade. The difficulties at the Magnesium Company of Canada's plant may sell newspapers, may give broadcasters a new topic to discuss, may indeed provide the opposition with political fodder, but it brings disappointment to local municipal councils, and it brings personal anguish and difficulties for the families of people who have lost their jobs. Mr. Speaker, my question to the Minister is, what assurance can he give the Magnesium Company of Canada's employees that they will not be cut off the payroll without adequate notice or appropriate compensation?
Mr. Speaker, as I indicated yesterday, let me again reinforce it in the Legislative Assembly by expressing my appreciation to the Honourable Member for Highwood in exercising such compassion as it relates to this issue, and reinforce with him again that this was a business decision that was made by MagCan. It was not a decision that was taken on behalf of the provincial government, but it was a business decision that was made by MagCan. Notwithstanding that fact, Mr. Speaker, because of our deep concern for the employees and whatnot, and the provincial treasurer and I sent immediately, upon being made aware that the possible closure existed, a letter to the senior management at MagCan indicating to them 4 conditions that we would expect them to live up to. One dealt with an orderly wind down of the company itself. In verbal communications with the company, we have been left with the assurances that they are going to exercise greater latitude in dealing with the employees of the company, recognizing that a number of them are going to go through hardships. And we are delighted that they are going to exercise that greater latitude. And I'm appreciative of the Honourable Member's question in that we can make sure the message is out there that the company is not going to close its doors immediately. They are going to go down through a process of an orderly wind down.
Supplementary, Highwood. Mr. Speaker, my supplemental question today is to the Minister of Career Development and Employment. Can the Minister assure the employees of the Magnesium Company of Canada that his department will develop plans or has plans in place to assist the unemployed workers, and share with this House a time commitment for such plans as to when they will be communicated to these people?
Well, Mr. Speaker, in response to the Honourable Member for Highwood's question, it's partially similar in bills on the question of the Minister of Economic Development, and would confirm that there are approximately 135 employees affected, and that the majority of layoffs will take place within 3 weeks or over a 3-week period. And as we do in all cases or instances similar to MagCam, our department immediately upon notification contacted the employers, and we made our department services known to the employer. And for those who may wish to pursue other job opportunities, we will certainly be working very closely with employees directly, and we'll be working with them at all times. Our department provides such services as the labor market information, career counseling. We'll set up workshops within house as well to provide services in the way of resume writing, job skills, and interview skills as well. I might add, Mr. Speaker, that as well the federal government have what's called an industrial adjustment services program, and we'll be working with the federal government to implement that program as well. But I might add and would ask the Honourable Member for Highwood to reconvey that message back to the employer, because that has to be requested from and initiated by the employer himself.
Thank you. Edmonton Beverly.
These are also to the Minister of Economic Development and Trade, and following the same lines of the member from Highwood. Mr. Speaker, the failure of the magnesium plant means, of course, a loss of some 145 jobs, direct jobs. In addition to that, of course, there will be spin-off jobs that are going to be devastating to the workers and to the community. Now, of course, the government has encouraged the support of this plant with taxpayers' dollars, and of course, the plant is going to go on hold, may never be completed. The question I ask the Minister, and perhaps be more specific, is what type of assistance are you going to provide to the workers at the magnesium plant that have shut down? Such things as severance pay, the possibility of loss of vacation pay, the possibility of the wages not being paid as a result of a shutdown. I want to know what you specifically are going to do to help those employees.
Mr. Speaker, I'm sure the Minister responsible for career development will wish to supplement it, but I can only add to the Honourable Member, we just answered that question 2 seconds ago and indicated to him the procedure that we are going through both with the company, and the Honourable Minister also replied to the previous questioner.
member is certainly looking for some other information as well, and I'm not sure if I can provide it all for him. I want to assure him, though, that we're working very closely with the employers, and they have to follow the guidelines that are laid out both by the provincial and federal governments. So any qualifications as it relates to severance pay and everything has to be dealt with emphatically. I would indicate, though, that as well, some of the employees are not just located in the member for Highwoods constituency. They're located in urban communities such as Calgary. Those employees job prospects are perhaps much greater for those persons because of the low unemployment rate that we have in Alberta at this time, the economic diversification, and the job opportunities are there. But to those specifically in the members for Highwoods constituency, once again I reinforce that our department are going to work very closely with them and the federal government's program, as we have and do in all cases that are similar to this and occur time to time. But that's why we have a government department as a safety net there to provide those services, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The fact of the matter is there really is no protection for workers in this province as a result of plant closures. Mr. Speaker, what really happens is that the fact, and my next question is to the Minister of Labour. In the event of plant closures, really the attitude of this government is, we're sorry, you're on your own. And my question to the Minister of Labour, and considering the fact that Ontario has just introduced legislation that's called Employee Wage Protection Plan to ensure that workers not get cast out in the cold as a result of plant closures, will the Minister tell this Assembly when is the government will introduce similar legislation for protection of Alberta workers who are the victims of plant closures?
Mr. Speaker, the honourable member has referred to an Ontario plan, the details of which we're looking forward to reviewing, but at the moment there are no plans to bring in a plan of the nature that he is suggesting, since the early estimates indicate that it would cost $175 million over 6 months. Nevertheless, we do have some protections for employees, and they are included in the Employment Standards Code, and those, I believe, have been followed in this instance.
There isn't an Albertan, I don't think, that hasn't been touched by the pitiful plight of the Kurds, who had every reason to believe that we were willing to fight for freedom in Kuwait, that we'd be willing to help them attain their freedom too. They're now paying for our rather fickle attention, Mr. Speaker, with the loss of their homes and sometimes their lives. In the absence, Mr. Speaker, my first question, or in the unavailability of the Premier or Deputy Premier, I'd like to address this to the Minister of Culture. Since we heard the Deputy Premier assure the House Wednesday that the Alberta government indeed is going to help in this very humanitarian effort, could the Minister of Culture tell us exactly what the Alberta government is going to do?
Well, Mr. Speaker, this matter, of course, is one of grave concern for everyone who is concerned about the welfare of people anywhere on the globe. The Minister of Economic Development and Trade, in an answer just a few days ago, described in great extent the commitment of the Government of Alberta to help out in this situation, and I would refer the honourable member to answer.
Mr. Speaker, in the absence of a specific answer, I'd like to ask the Minister of Culture to pass to the Premier, who will be meeting with the other premiers of Canada here very shortly, a suggestion that we take, say, $1 million from our $33 million surplus and ask the other provinces to match it on a per capita basis, which would come to about $10 million, to send it over there to help the Kurds.
Well, Mr. Speaker, once again, the member is directing a question to one department of government when in actual fact the answer has been provided by the minister responsible for another in a previous session. I do find it encouraging to note that the member does finally agree, for the first time from anybody in his caucus, that we are presenting a balanced budget with a $33 million surplus.
Supplementary, Mr. Speaker, to leave the honourable member with the assurance, as I did when the motion was introduced into the Legislative Assembly by the honourable member for Edmonton Centre, I believe it was, and it did receive unanimous consent in this Legislative Assembly, of our willingness to work. I should just point out to him there is a procedure one has to go through to access these funds. We're more than happy to work hand in hand with non-governmental organizations to see how best we can help when these people are going through a period of serious adversity.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, it's easy to dwell on the negative, as the opposition always continues to do. And last evening, the Minister of Public Works, Supply and Services and the Minister of Technology, Research and Development and myself met with a group of PEGA professional engineers, geologists and geophysicists who were really up and felt very positive that this province is willing to work with private sector and take risks in development and business, especially relating to technology and research. And the ability for these scientists to be able to put their experience and their work into effect. Could the Minister of Technology, Research and Telecommunications give this House some indication as to the positive work that his department has been doing in relationship to the scientists and the work in developing their technology?
Excellent question. Well, Mr. Speaker, it's a very good point, and indeed, and Mr. Speaker, as the honourable member quite well points out, the opposition love failure. That's right. And quite frankly, Mr. Speaker, it suits them. Mr. Speaker, I had the good pleasure as the honourable member.
Thank you, honourable member. No, you cannot heckle. You learned the other day, I trust. You only get one warning. You only get one warning. Question period can be shut down at any time, remember. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, as the honourable member indicated, I did have the good pleasure of attending that very successful first annual Summit Awards of APEGA last night. And indeed, they were rewarding excellence, and they were talking about the positive things that are happening in Alberta, and they were talking about the importance of research and development in this province if we're going to compete globally. And Mr. Speaker, our department works along with the universities, it works along with our applied research institutes, particularly the Alberta Research Council, in working with the private sector in order to make sure that the types of things that the Honourable Treasurer and the Honourable Minister of Economic Development and Trade were talking about, the good stories of Alberta that are out there. 50,000 people, Mr. Speaker, in a new sector of our economy, working in 1,200 companies, and bringing success to Alberta, drawing people to Alberta, and making sure that diversification happens.
Opportunity.
Speaker, obviously when you take risk in business, there's always some difficulties that firms experience with high-tech startups. Could the minister indicate the rumblings and insecurities about with regards to the General Systems Resources and Technica Resources Limited, and give this House indication as to the stability of these firms?
Well, Mr. Speaker, the honourable member makes a good point, because in this House we have heard from time to time references to General Systems Research and Technica Resources and so on. And they always hold them out as failures, Mr. Speaker. But if they go to those companies today, they'll find people working there. They'll find over 100 people still working at General Systems Research. They're progressing in the development of that research, and it was only because we were able to find new capital investment for that company, building upon the research and development that was there. And on the basis of that research in which we invested, those jobs are still there in Alberta. In Edmonton, notwithstanding the fact that the honourable member for Edmonton Kingsway wanted the whole thing shut down.
That's right. That's his plan.
Technic Resources, another success story. Six times as many people now working at Technic Resources as did before, because we found new capital investment to build upon the research the research that was there, Mr. Speaker. It is a very good success story for the people of Alberta.
West Yellowhead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Parks and Recreation. In the Parks and Recreation annual report tabled yesterday in the legislature, it was indicated that the purpose of his department is to enhance the individual and social well-being of Albertans for the protection and appreciation of the natural and cultural resources of the province. I'd like to ask the Minister, does he not agree that seniors in Alberta also have the right to appreciate and enjoy Alberta and not be penalized by having to pay almost 300% increase to enter a provincial park campsite?
Mr. Speaker, I would certainly agree with the introduction by the honourable member, and for the purpose of the Department of Recreation and Parks, and I think that we do a tremendously good job in that direction. But this government has, from the time of inception, and some 20 years ago, I think the anniversary was 20 years just recently, has believed in a user pay philosophy. And certainly the seniors in this province, with the programs totaling some $1.4 billion, are certainly given consideration in all areas. I talked to an individual yesterday in regards to the fee increases. He had concerns as it related to the maximum that perhaps you talk about on a site that is fully serviced with water, with electricity, on a cement pad and showers. They did go up from $5.50 a day up until around $15 for seniors. There are 80 sites in the province like that, and I asked them, I said, out of 10,000 sites in the province, we took 80 because they're very specialized and raised them this much. Are you willing to pay that increase? There was silence at the end of the phone and an uneasiness about the fact that we had raised them. But when I pointed out that our priorities were in the areas of ensuring that we had a good health care system and that the seniors would not have to wait for their bypasses or for the surgeries that they need, the fact that we had some of the best senior programs in the country, and I know because I have a mother in Ontario who really would like to come to Alberta and pay for these park fees so that she could enjoy the other fees in this province.
Supplementary, West Yellowhead.
Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased that the Minister consulted with his multi-million-dollar corporate friends rather than with the seniors of Alberta. I was wondering if the Minister... Mr. Speaker, well, seniors are found to pay almost 300% more for services. Some groups have had no increases. Why is the Minister singling out seniors for implementing a harsh and new deterrent fees?
The same groups that referred to are equal across the board for seniors. For 900 sites in the province, the seniors' rates actually went down 25 cents from $3.50 last year to $3.25. So seniors has been treated fairly in those groups that have actually gone down. We took 1,000 campsites in this province and lowered them from $7 to $5 this year because we thought that it was fair in the services provided in other areas. So seniors on those sites actually dropped 25 cents from last year.
Why didn't he mention that? Could anybody sitting on the...
Edmonton Strathcona.
Mr. Speaker, my questions are for the Honourable Attorney General. The Auditor General in the last two reports that he has prepared notes that the Alberta General Insurance Company must now pay substantial federal corporation taxes on a $500,000 cash asset that it maintains. Why has the government refused to seek the recommended changes to the Act that would permit the company to transfer the funds to the general revenue and avoid federal corporation tax that will eventually deplete this fund?
Speaker, the Alberta General Insurance Company has been maintained over the years in the likelihood that we may need an insurance company and would not then have to go through the process of structuring it. The honourable member is correct that there are approximately $500,000 in the fund which can't be paid out other than through the policy, and which relates to property, and as the Alberta government being the only policy holder, The fund is subject to federal income tax, but any revenue that has been produced by this has been offset by losses that we wanted to use in past years. Those losses have now been used up, and I'd like to inform the honourable member that in excess of $400,000 has been transferred out of the corporation and will not now be subject to further tax.
Mr. Speaker, I always understood that the policy of this government was to keep its hands out of the free enterprise system, and I'm interested to learn that this government is considering carrying on an insurance business. In any event, why does a government that maintains and prides itself on its fiscal management insist on maintaining an insurance company with its only asset being a cash deposit, which earns about 3.4% interest?
Speaker, I think the answer to that question is in the first answer that I gave. There were a number of losses that could be obtained or utilized to offset any revenue that was taken. Until that happened, nothing could be done. We have now utilized those losses, and the money was then transferred to general revenue.
All right. Good. Well done.
1988 report by the government's own Director of Reforestation stated that 38% of the cut blocks in this province, or 250,000 acres, are not meeting the required reforestation standards 5 to 10 years after initial reforestation efforts.
Shame.
While the total rehabilitation cost was pegged at $200 million, this Minister of Forestry has cut his reforestation budget this year by 60%. To the Minister of Forestry, how can this minister justify cutting his reforestation budget from $7 million to $2.9 million when reforestation efforts on 250,000 acres of logged land in this province have fundamentally failed?
Double shame.
Mr. Speaker, with respect to the reforestation budget, I'll be happy to discuss that in depth with the honourable member in my estimates. But I will say that our reforestation standards are recognized across this country and everywhere as among, if not the best. And in Alberta, we plant, for every tree we cut, we plant 3 trees. And there certainly has been difficulties in some areas in the past with reforestation. We've had areas that were cut 10, 15, 20 years ago that didn't regenerate the way they properly should have. And we have gone back into some of those areas and retreated, and will continue to do so. Some of those areas that didn't meet the standards will not be retreated. And they won't be retreated because over the course of those years, the other trees grew up in those areas, and until those trees are utilized in our forest industry, we won't be regenerating those. So, Mr. Speaker, there isn't anything that is not being done properly in Alberta with respect to reforestation.
Right. Good management. Mr. Speaker, the minister as much as admitted that he's got this huge disaster from the past to which he is not applying resources adequately to solve. How can this minister continue to defend his northern pulp mill development policy, which is premised upon the fact that he says he can regenerate forests to fulfill the ones or to meet the ones that have been cut down, when in fact he tells us, he proves to us in his budget that he isn't providing sufficient funds to encourage the regrowth of forests that have been cut down in the past in this province?
Sheer nonsense. The sustained yield policy that's been followed by this government and the Department of Forestry, Lands and Wildlife over the years is working, is effective, and the security of the wood supply for northern Alberta for those mills is absolutely secure. To make silly statements like that doesn't make any sense. In addition to that, we put in free-to-grow standards effective on March 1st, 1991, that makes us the leader in reforestation standards. And so, Mr. Speaker, any allusion by the honourable member, I would ask him to do his homework.
What's your house made of?
Fine away, Grant. Fine away.
Mr. Speaker, I've received calls from the seniors in Calgary-Bow constituency who are concerned with changes in the health programs. Mr. Speaker, there seems to be still a great deal of confusion at present. Could the Associate Minister for Family and Social Services please clarify this issue for our seniors?
There you go, Roy. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Perhaps I should start at the beginning with this whole issue. We've got about 219,000 seniors in this province, Mr. Senior. Mr. I can see I'm not endearing myself to the chair. It's expected that within 50 years, our senior population is going to double that of our school-age population in this province. I'd also like to point out that over 90% of our seniors live in their own home at present. And we've made some changes in our programs designed to assist them to do just that. Right now, Home Care Service provides service for 19,000 Albertans to remain in their own home. And that is really why the Minister of Health put $16 million, a 30% increase, into the Home Care Enhancement Program. There has been a change in the cost of eyeglasses and dental care, because in the past these have been set by fee and been paid for by fee. But there's been quite a variance in charges by the dental and opticians, and now the program will reflect an 80% charge of those fees to reflect the variance in the fee structure. It's true that the nursing home fees have increased, $16 up to $17.50 and $22.50 to $24, but I'd like to point out that this is currently still the lowest in Canada, and significant to that as well is that the remaining...
Mr. I think we've got to leave something for the supplementary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My supplementary again is to the Associate Minister. There are several seniors in my constituency who are diabetic. Will the recently announced changes to the Aids for Daily Living program and the further enhancement of these benefits under this program include these seniors' diabetic supplies? Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, the Minister has said that this is a budget of changes and choices. And due to the population shift, the change in the budget is going to reflect as well the diabetic needs of this increased population. And in future, diabetic supplies will be covered under Aids to Daily Living. This is one area that has put an extreme hardship on many families, particularly seniors in the past, Mr. Speaker, and I'm glad that she has made this change.
Thank you. What's the point of order?
Speaker, we still can't hear. I can't hear the comments that the Minister is making.
Yeah, thank you. Well, thank you, Honourable Member. That's the second representation from your caucus and from the front row of your caucus in the last 2 days. The Chair agrees. There are two things, at least three things that are occurring. One is that we checked it overnight. The ventilation system kicks in. Sometimes that was part of the problem yesterday. The louver's open and then there's some noise from there. We had the sound system thoroughly checked last night. In addition to that, though, our sound console operator is breaking in a backup console operator, so sometimes our...
Can you hear me?
So the next part, it's the ventilation system kicking in. It's the sound system that we hope to have replaced this year if the appropriate estimates of Public Works Supply and Services get passed. Representation. Also, we're breaking in a new sound console operator, so sometimes the switching back and forth doesn't occur. And the other thing, of course, is that the House needs to learn to be quiet and do some listening. Thank you. Orders of the day. Might we revert to the long list of reintroduction of guests? Opposed? Carried. Thank you.